Okay. Okay.
All right, we live. Let me do my usual spiel. Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, Piankhi Patai Muntu Nefro Amon Ra. And we back with another one. And we're going to talk about some real shit tonight. I ain't going to even waste my time with the usual intro, with the usual spiel. We just going to get right into it. I got two powerful brothers. I got the King, Sabio, back in the building. And we got another powerful brother. Y'all know him as Black Line Supreme. I want to say Hotep, brother. Welcome to the platform.
Hotep family. Hotep to the panel. Hotep to the chat. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is safe.
That's what's up.
Yo, did you put it in the back chat?
I did not yet. Let me, matter of fact, can you share that for me, Rick? Matter of fact, no, I got you. I got it.
Yeah, just put it in the back chat and I'll share it through mine.
Okay, will do. Let me do that now. But yeah, let's get into it, family. We saw y'all. I think most of us saw y'all dialogue on the situation with the young lady who lost her life, because she had a knife after she was probably and I say this because we know how these situations play out. That situation didn't start where we got the recording. This is something that probably had been all day, and then it got to the point where we finally caught it, and this young lady felt like she had to get a knife to defend herself. She was the one that called the police. You had adults outside standing around. The police gets there, sees her charging at another young lady with a knife, and ends up shooting her. The tragedy in this to me is the person who felt she was in enough danger to have to call the police ends up being the person who loses her life. I believe that her blood is not only on that officer's hand because he didn't have to go send a man's. To me, he could have got a shoulder, a leg, anything. We got all these black people making excuses for these police whenever they do something wrong to a black person. And here they go again. But on top of that, you had grown ass adults standing around, as my brother Black Line Supreme said before we went live, contributing to the chaos instead of bringing order to the situation. I'm gonna let y'all speak on that while I share this in the back chat. No particular order.
So, you want to go first, Sabio? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. It's cool. So peace. What up, everybody? That's exactly what was going on. And like we were saying before, and like I said earlier, the adults in this situation should have been adults. So they have a lot of responsibility on their hands. And it should not have been as grave as a situation as it played out to be. We understand that people have issues, with anger and and expressing themselves and staying in control and things like that. But sometimes adults have to be adults, and they can't be afraid to be adults. She should not have ever gotten her hands on the knife. There should have been an adult in the way before she made it out of the kitchen with the knife, because it was a kitchen knife that she had. It wasn't a pocket knife. So, there was no accountability by none of the adults in that home where she was. And the incidents that was transpiring between her and the girls that was jumping her should have been handled. Should have been stopped. So there's a lot of culpability and responsibility at play here that people aren't actually looking at. We're only looking at her actions as the main cause of her death. No, they were a contributing factor as well as everything else that led up to that officer doing what he did. And if can't no one see through the video from the neighbor's house that he had time to do what? Reach to the other side. But when he jumped out of the vehicle, what did he automatically unholster? His pistol. He didn't unholster his taser. He didn't unleash, snap his mace. He automatically unlocked his pistol. I'm gonna close up on that right now. Let Black Rod Supreme get in.
Well, you are on the money. And once again, chaos created by our activity, bringing in European cops to our neighborhood for something like this again to happen. You know, we go to the hood, we used to it. But when we go in there, we always up on our guard because we know something can happen at any time. Something could pop off. When these Europeans, cops go in there, they're straight paranoid. The first thing they do, like Sabio said, is grab for their guns. That's the very first thing they do. That's the first thing that's on their mind. I've seen cops come to a single mother's place, right? Because she was having a problem with her child in full gear, full bulletproof vest, weapons, everything, as if they were coming to a riot. These people that come into our neighborhoods are not used to us as a people. They have preconceived ideas about us that they've been taught since birth by their parents. This is the kind of people that's coming into our neighborhoods to enforce the law. Now, in this particular situation, it was a boom, boom, boom kind of quick thing that happened. I thank goodness that child did not get stabbed. And I hate that our sister got shot. But it was the whole thing could have been avoided if the so-called adults there would have squashed the situation before the police officer ever got there. And something that's curious to me, because usually when someone calls the police and they arrive, that person pretty much calms down or they go towards the cop to give them their grievance. In this situation, it seems like the girl got even more aggressive when she seen the police pull up. So it's kind of weird that she was the one who called the police, but once the police got on the scene, she felt it necessary to go after the girl and try to stab her. So again, if this would have been squashed from the start by the man out there kicking a girl that's on the ground, by the other adults I've seen out there screaming and hollering about that child getting shot, had they squashed it before it even got to that height of chaos, I believe that child would be alive today. We got to start taking responsibility for our children. We are failing our children at this point. We should be the standard. We should be the authority figures over our babies, and making sure that they understand the atmosphere that we live in. We live in a Greco-Roman society that is built and pinpointed for the advancement and betterment of Europeans, not us. It wasn't founded by us. It wasn't created by us. It was built by us by force. We got to understand that. We got to understand who we're dealing with. And we have to teach our children the same. And until then, we're going to keep on seeing situations like this that could have been avoided just by our own actions.
Right.
We can't depend on these Europeans to protect our babies. We have to do that for ourselves. Go ahead, Seb.
And you know what? It's interesting because you remember yesterday the sister Truth Seeking. She was saying that were acting like brutes. You remember that? Black Line?
I remember someone saying something like that. I didn't actually hear her say that myself.
That's what
I
she
must have
said.
missed it, but I heard someone reference to it. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's what she said it a couple of times. She said we're out here acting like brutes and living like brutes. And when you think about it, that is the same way they approach us. When you call the police for help, it doesn't matter if you're irate. The police should not automatically reach for their pistol. They should already have an idea, as this officer did, of what was going on. He did not go into the situation blind. So he knew the level of violence had escalated. And if you tell the person 4 times to get down, at this time you haven't drawn your weapon, that means you're still making a decision in your head which weapon to draw, which force to use. People gotta stop playing. He did not say it once and shoot. He said it 4 times. I've watched the video so much to where I don't want to look at YouTube anymore.
Facts. And I'll tell you this: those who say a taser wouldn't have been enough, you've never been tased before.
You're a damn lie.
I assure you.
That taser would have put her on her ass. She would have dropped that knife.
The average person, I've seen some other people that it wasn't effective. I've seen that. That's true. But the average person, when you
the
get
16-year-old girl who ain't never had 3,000,
yeah,
5,000 volts of electricity pouring through her body,
you gonna sit
down.
I promise you.
Yeah, man. I feel like we reached a place in our culture where Black people are really trying hard to get white approval, because every time something like this happens, like we hear Candace Owens talking about George Floyd and bringing up his past as if it had something to do with this bastard sitting on his neck and putting his full body weight on his neck and him begging for his life. You want to bring up his criminal past as if that somehow justifies him being killed. I had a friend of the Caucasian persuasion, like I was telling y'all about, and he made a card for Valentine's Day. Well, he didn't make it, but he showed it on his Facebook page. George Floyd, you take my breath away. And so when people start giving him the business, he's saying, well, he was high on fentanyl. He probably overdosed. When the coroner then already said how this man died. So then you get Black people on there defending him because we want white approval. You got people talking about Trayvon Martin was smoking weed while he was in high school and things of this nature. I think the only person who was victimized by the police whose character wasn't assassinated and didn't have Black people cooning and saying the officer didn't do nothing wrong was Philando Castile. Everybody in his community and everybody at his job was like, oh no, y'all ain't gonna do it with him. But even when this bitch went up in this man's house and took his life in his fucking house, you got people talking about he had weed in his house.
In his house. So what? What was she doing in his house?
So we had a place.
I brought that up yesterday when I was talking to Thunder. But yeah, go ahead.
We had a place where we want white approval so bad that we willing to throw the dead under the goddamn bus. And makes me sick.
And not realize that we're throwing ourselves under the bus at the same time.
at the
but
same
that-
goddamn time. Because that day,
but look,
I hope
look,
not. It's gonna be somebody you know or somebody you some kin to.
look who we're depending on to present the narrative. We're dependent on Europeans. See, we don't have any excuse. We don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. We should have news outlets. We should have newspapers all over the place. We should control our own media and how we are presented into the public eye. But instead, we leave it to the European. We leave it to the European to control the media. We leave it to the European to give us a check every month. We leave it to the European to help serve us if we're sick. We leave it to the European to get our food. We leave everything to the European, and then we complain about how it's going. How do we expect it to go? If we don't control our own destiny, if we don't control our own resources, if we don't control our own supplies, then how on earth can we expect anything else?
But you know what? Now you know I just had I shouldn't say just, but a few months ago I had a conversation with my brother, nobody, from Trust and Believe the Gospel, about how do we should we separate or should we continue to go the way we're going, and what was integration a mistake? And while I respect what our ancestors was trying to do, I understand what they was trying to do. I feel like it was a mistake from this standpoint. We decided to integrate with a people who did not value life. They don't value their own life, never mind ours. And so those same behaviors, and I'm gonna give y'all a prime example in current times on how this thing happens. When you integrate with a people and you get around the people, you slowly start to pick up
their habits.
And their behavioral traits and things of that nature. The things that you see them dealing with, you start to relate to it. It's just a psychological thing. Sabio, you familiar? You from here, so you know you're familiar with the area. We moved out to O'Fallon 2 years ago, and the reason behind it was, we wanted to move to a better school district for the kids, and so we moved out of the Ferguson Florissant School District and out to the Wentzville School District. But guess what? It's issues in the Wentzville School District.
School district also, right?
Because they ain't selling drugs and bringing guns to school to defend themselves against certain situations. They popping pills and fighting their parents and talking about suicide pacts and things of that nature. So now all of a sudden, my daughter has anxiety and social anxiety and depression, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And then you start hearing about these friends and what these friends dealing with and what these friends saying and what the parents is doing. And you're like, whoa. So when Dr. King said, I fear I integrated my people into a burning house, you start to really resonate with what he was talking about. Like, you think you know what he's talking about, but then you really start.
Then you really see what he's talking about.
Hold on. And this is just my household. Imagine how he felt when he started thinking about, these are millions of my people who I convinced this was the right move. But go ahead.
He misunderstood the game. You see, integration was a act in warfare, really, to tell you the truth. How did it happen? The Europeans seen that Black people were making a tremendous amount of money owning their own gas stations, theaters, shopping centers, and so on and so forth. They saw all that money and they were willing to call themselves integrating with us. But the game of integration has never been little Black boys and little Black girls holding hands, as Martin Luther King said. And once he realized what the game really was, that's when he said he feared he put us into a burning house. Because integration is not about we all come together. You have Little Italy, you have Jews have their own cities and towns and societies, and the Europe, yeah, exactly, Chinatown, and so on and so forth. That's not integration. They are separate from everybody else. What it is everybody coming together and building an economy together and trading and sharing resources together, but not coming together as a family, as Martin Luther King taught our people. So we are trying to be these people's brothers and sisters. And that's not what, never was what integration was all about. Integration is about you taking your spot, you're getting your piece of the pie and growing your people to the highest heights of your abilities. That's what true integration is about. Not coming together with people holding hands. It's about utilizing your information, your resources to better yourself and your people. That's what Europeans do. That's what Mexicans do. That's what Asians do. Everybody plays the game correctly, but us. Go ahead, fam.
You know, that's interesting that you would say that, because I was talking to Rocky earlier, and before I talked to him, I was thinking about something. And we are America's biggest consumers. Yet, we are sitting here talking about integration. Like, we've been fully integrated into American society. Like I was saying earlier on the show, we already have civil rights. Why do people not want to look at what the big issue is? Why do we keep dancing around the main issue? You know, it's kind of disappointing. You know, whenever you mention human rights, people act like you're talking about something foreign that they're not familiar with. But that's the thing that's called into question, our humanity. That's really what we're sitting here talking about. Our humanity. Underneath everything that we talk about, except for the religious stuff, and sometimes even that, is about our humanity. Are we still 3/5 of a person for taxation purposes, or are we fully human, living in an American society where all men and women are created equal with the ability to fulfill their dreams and live their lives, basically? That's it.
What was that Farrakhan quote at the end of the Tupac song, White Man's World? Still in the Constitution.
The seal and the Constitution reflects the thinking of this nation, that this was to be a nation by white people and for white people. Native Americans, blacks, and all other non-white people are to be the burden bearers for the founding fathers of this nation.
There you go. The real citizens of this nation.
There it is. There it is right there in black and white.
As Sinetta would say, grand opening, grand closing. That's
exactly. I mean, you can close it right there. Another word don't even have to be said. But we have to keep talking because people still don't get what he meant and what he said. And it's sad. It's sad, family. It really is, because those are the truest words that were ever spoken by a black man in America.
I mean, every time I hear it, it's like Native Americans, blacks, and all other non-white people were to be the burden bearers for the real citizens of this nation.
And how is it today?
How is it today? Like when you think about that, like when you hear somebody like my brother, nobody from Trust and Believe the Gospel or Thunder say, I don't really see racism as an issue, or I don't know what white supremacy is. And you look back and you on the history of this country, and you like, where have you been? And where were you educated? Like, did you grow up in the same country that I did?
You have to grow up under a rock.
It's called denial. You know, some of us escape into denial. That's just the way it is for a lot of us. A lot of us, you know, we handle the situation we in differently. Unfortunately, I wish we all would handle it like us right here and people in the chat. But unfortunately, a lot of us handle it like Thunder. We just go into denial and we get this. Well, if you can't beat them, join them attitude. And that is keeping us in slavery. It's just another form of slavery. Same way with Jim Crow was another form of slavery. We are in another form of slavery right as we speak. And it's because of the words of Farrakhan.
Yeah,
we gotta think about it, and then y'all go ahead. We gotta understand who we're dealing with, family. We gotta understand these people. Why, if all of us brothers and sisters right now, if it was millions of us, right, and we decided we were gonna move somewhere and start a nation, and we bring 500,000 Europeans and it's 20 million of us, who you think gonna run that country? Do you think we're going to allow Europeans to rise above us? There's no way on this earth we're going to allow that. So why do we think that they would allow it? They won't. The only way to free yourself from this is the same way they freed themselves from Europe. It's the same way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's counterintuitive to think otherwise. And you hit the nail on the head. These people have this, like we talk within the confines of America, but what we got to think about is the European has had a global campaign of white supremacy, colonization, and oppression of indigenous people across this planet. This is what they do. Like it's a line in the movie The Matrix, the first one. Agent Smith is describing humans. But if you take out the word human and you put European, and he says it's a species that goes from place to place, deriving the land of its natural resources, and then they move to another area and they do the same thing over and over again. He talking about a virus, but if we remove that, we could easily look at the world's history and see that this is what the European does.
Facts.
Australia, India, Asia, Africa, North America, Mexico, South America, Central America. This is what they do. Period.
Facts.
Like, can't nobody deny this. Where is it? Tasmania?
Yep, Tasmania, Transylvania. You know, you call it. They try to own it.
Yeah. Do those Aboriginals even exist anymore?
And if anybody doubt what you are saying right now, read the American foreign policy. Read it.
You don't even have to read that. All you have to do is think about the whole creed that they live by. Manifest destiny.
Bro, like we ain't this ain't no cap right now. So when you start talking about the police, let's just talk about the origin of the police. What was it? What was it? The night watch, the slave catchers.
Yep, paddy rollers. They was called patrollers.
There you go. Yep. So now this is how that started, because See, this is where people got to start really digging
or patty rollers.
into history.
Look it up.
So you took what they did was so diabolical because you had the bourgeoisie who saw poor white people, poor Europeans, and they saw Africans, and they saw Native Americans, and they saw all of these people from different parts of the world. And because of a couple of incidents, these people began to unite against Native American incursions because they taking Native American land and Native Americans fighting back. So a man named Bacon said, hey, we finna band together and we finna fight them. And we don't care what y'all say, but the well-to-dos is like, nah, hold on. We need y'all to hold off on that because we trying to make a treaty with them so we can trade. He like, nah, if they come up on my land again, we doing this. So they like, hold on, man, all of these people working together. We gotta figure something out with this. And the opportunity came when an African, because this is what they calling them, and they was even more specific, a Nigerian. They're saying African, they saying exactly where he from on the continent, a Nigerian. And again, I think me and Sabio talked about this. You can look this brother up. He ran away with an Englishman, and I think it was a Dutchman or another European. But one of them was an Englishman, one of them was a Nigerian or African, and the other one was a different person from another European country. When they caught all three of them, they all ran away from the same person they was indentured to in Virginia. When they caught them, the two Europeans got 14 years total of more servitude, 7 to the colony, 7 to the guy they ran away from. And the African got lifetime servitude.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Facts.
What they wanted to do was establish that y'all poor Europeans are still better than this goddamn African.
Exactly.
And to this day, you got a woman like my wife who is a vice president at her company, and you got some no-teeth redneck trailer park white folks who think they better than her, even though she got a bachelor's and a master's degree.
Facts.
Because of what was established in that moment, them no-teeth, redneck, inbred motherfuckers think they better than my wife.
And you want to know what's crazy? We don't address it. We really don't talk about it. And people think I'm crazy when I say this, but sometimes it takes extreme measures to actually get change and for things to move in a direction. We're living by a constitution that was written when nobody alive today was around, right?
Mm-hmm. Facts.
So how can that constitution apply to America today?
Exactly.
We're living by an outdated document that still upholds most of the things that it upheld when our people were considered property. And by this constitution, because the 3/5 law is still in the Constitution, so according to the Constitution, we are still property.
Yeah, we got a state that just voted to uphold slavery.
We gotta stop playing these games.
And you're a slave all over again.
Yeah, they just voted to say no, we're not going to abolish slavery. We don't know what would happen. That's what they said.
But let's touch on some of the things that you said, because what you said was powerful. This is why Europeans will still vote for somebody like Trump. Trump, who don't have their best interests at hand whatsoever. These
no
are
politics,
poor white folk. Exactly. They have these politicians have no interest at all in the betterment of these poor white people, yet they still vote for them. Why? So they can stay just above the status of us, just like you just said. It still goes on today. And Sabio brought up a good point about the Constitution. Here's a document that's in place that that had to do with a whole entire different America than today. Yet we still use it. Why? Because it's still in the best interest of the European to use it. We don't call no shots here. We call ourselves Americans. We rah. We put up bottle rockets on the 4th of July. We eat turkey on Thanksgiving. We mimic these Europeans, but that's all we're doing. We're mimicking them while they reap the better resources, while they reap the better school systems, while they reap the better environments to raise their children, and give us the scraps off their table the same way they did during slavery. And we're in this cloud. It's like our brains are in some type of cloud of smoke of ignorance where we cannot escape it, and we just keep on repeating the same behavior generation after generation after generation. We have to break this cycle. And the only way to do it is to have self-knowledge. That's the only way. And then to launch ourselves from self-knowledge into global knowledge, economics, and everything else that everyone else uses to benefit their people. Go ahead, family.
Go ahead, Sabio.
Yeah, man. And see, that's it right there, man. We can't be afraid of knowledge. You know, I think that's a big thing right there. You know, and the other day when I was having that conversation, I was talking about with them young men about fighting women, and how adamant they were that they will fight women. And I'm basically a softie because I won't. And I think any man that's will is a softie.
Yeah.
That goes to the level of knowledge that we really want to attain, but it also goes to the level of emotionalism. But this all plays into everything that we're talking about, that the show is about: racism and white supremacy. See, I mentioned the Kerner Commission. Has anybody read the Kerner Commission, the Kerner Report by Otto Kerner?
No.
I advise y'all to read that. It's a public document. You can probably pull up a PDF of it free. A lot of things that was talked about in that commission all the way back in the 60s and the 70s when it was written are being implemented today. The housing laws. The housing laws are racist. Y'all think this don't affect us? Y'all have to really stop thinking that racism is somebody just walking up to you calling you a bad name.
Exactly.
I don't care about a person calling me a name. Don't put your hands on me, and don't try to stop me from living my life according to the way I want to live my life. As long as I'm not breaking the law, living my life, offending anybody or hurting anybody in the process of me moving forward, then hey, I shouldn't be hindered. You know, my interactions with police should not be tense. You know, think about this the other day. So I'm coming home from the store and I find a wallet on the ground. Nothing's in the wallet but a bunch of cards, and they're scattered. So I pick the wallet up and I see a police card in there. And I look at the ID, and the name on the ID and the name on the card match. I'm like, oh, so this brother's an officer. Well, let me call him back so I can give him his wallet. So I call the police station, North Precinct, up there on North Hanley and Union. They're like, can you bring it? I'm like, I don't have a ride right now. So I give them my address. Do you know I was tense just handing her the wallet?
Yeah. And you should have been. That's the messed up thing about it. You should have been.
But I was doing a good deed.
Yep. But yeah, you should have been. I'm telling you, it took guts to do that because I don't know if I would have.
Man, Man, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like,
Real talk. What if that dude would have been, a body? And then they say, well, you found it, then they try to implement you into it. See, you have to, that kind of stuff, bro.
I thought
That's
about
too
all
dark.
that. I really did. I just said, you know what? I'm going to just take the risk because he got his son's social security card. Everything was scattered on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to put it back in the wallet. And when I seen the socials, I'm like, he may need this. His son seemed like he had a disability because I seen a disability card for his son. I'm like, this shit is important.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
that's
glad
all
you did it. I'm just saying you were right to be leery of it. You were damn sure right.
Yeah, you did. You did what you supposed to do. But because you are a black male in America, you were uncomfortable. And rightfully so. Because
that shouldn't be the what I'm saying is we shouldn't have to feel like that.
Facts.
And
you're absolutely right.
Back to what we're talking about. The person who called the police for aid she should not have been killed by the police. Regardless of how everybody understands if you're an officer and you got to make a split-second decision, you see somebody's life in jeopardy, you defending a life. But the person who called y'all should not have been killed. Why wouldn't it some kind of intervention from these adults to say, hey, everybody, take y'all ass home. Look, y'all ain't finna do this. Y'all gotta go. But it escalated to a point where even when the police got there, that girl was so turned up that it didn't matter what the police were saying at that point. I'm tired of these people. They've been messing with me all day, all week, all year. We don't know how long this has been going on. She was a heavy-set young woman. They probably have been messing with her about her weight, her appearance, and that shit started to take a toll. And because she called the police to get some aid, she ended up losing her life. And all we want to talk about was whether this cracker did the right fucking thing when all these fucking adults is standing around doing nothing. And now we got a 16-year-old who gone, had a whole life ahead of him. That blows me the fuck away. So
real talk. And they marched to the cops' house. Why didn't they march on those adults who were standing right there, making the situation worse? Here you got a man out there kicking somebody. The very people you're talking about that should have squashed this is out there being more acting a fool than the 16-year-old. So that damn sure helped in her behavior, helped her turn up even more. That they out there doing the same damn thing. Yes. Well, a police officer out there, the man kicks the girl and the cop is standing right there with a gun in his hand. Are you serious? And we wonder why our children are doing these things. Look at the examples we're setting. It's a damn shame. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. Our children are sick and tired of the standards that we're setting for them. We leave them nothing. We die, and they have to get a car wash going or some type of GoFundMe to bury us. We leave them with a burden. We don't even leave them with any type of resources. You know, my grandfather, my grandmother, when they passed, they left houses to our family. They left resources. They had stocks. They had bonds. None of that is going on anymore, and we're wondering why our children are acting in the manner that they are. Like we are just so blind to what's going on, for a lack of a better word. This is ridiculous, and we need to check ourselves as the elders, as the adults of this society, and stop pointing our fingers at our kids and saying, look at what they're doing, and start pointing those fingers at us. Stop your entertainment all the time. Stop trying to get into somebody's pants. Stop trying to act a fool and get high. Look after your babies. They're coming up in a time where they really need guidance. They really need standards set for them. Be bold enough to raise your children and stop being afraid of your own kids.
So during that conversation, there was a 16-year-old at the house. Now, this 16-year-old is 2 inches shorter than me. I'm 6'3". He's 6'1". His arms are almost as long as mine. He was almost touching my shoulder. He was just missing it fully by like 2 fingers, put like that. I asked him if he played basketball. He said no. The young lady that I'm talking to, she told me that he's already a done deal. Like, I was basically wasting my time trying to convince him not to waste his height and his talent. See, his role models, his brothers, his 8 family members, his 8 siblings did not influence him to do anything positive with his height. So he's unfortunately on his way to being a statistic in these St. Louis streets. He already has a child on the way, excuse me, at the age of 16. Doesn't go to school. And it's all because the parents aren't doing the things that they have to do for their kids, you know? It's because they're too busy trying to be friends with their children. They're not parents. You know, I don't have children, but I know I tell my niece this all the time. Don't try to be your kid's friend. Let us be their friends and their uncles, you know? Because that's what we're here for. Let them make friends. You have to be their mom. Go ahead.
All right, we got a powerful brother by the name of Byron Washington just joined us, and then we got a special guest. I call him the Reverend Dollar B. Green, and y'all know him.
No, real quick, man. I don't mean to.
I want to welcome both brothers to the show.
Is that Andre?
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's the Reverend Dollar B. Green, brother. Nah, real quick though. I just wanted to expound off a point Sabio made, and then I'll get back to watching the show. Yeah, racism is no longer a person calling you a name, right? Racism is simply classism and how they market it to you. Like, I was by me being in New York City yesterday, I don't know if you saw this when I went live on Facebook, but like, I'm on my way to the gym and you got white people and Spanish people with a few blacks talking about Black Lives Matter, like marching down the street, right? But this is the thing. They're marching down the street over black homeless people. So how does Black Lives Matter when you're like, Black Lives Matter? Oh, get out my way, nigga. I'm sorry. Black Lives Matter. Like, what? Like, so you're going to step over a struggling black man literally going through the garbage to eat, but Black Lives Matter? It doesn't make sense, right? None of this makes sense. It's a form of racism. They had the nerve to say during the march, they said, this is diversity. This is how diversity looks. To a white man, well, no, diversity is me being able to live in Westchester with you without the rest of the white neighborhood saying, how did he make it out here? That's diversity, right? Diversity is not if we have this little march in the middle of Manhattan, then I go home to the hood and you go home to Westchester. That's not diversity. Diversity is not me saying, well, I got to be happy with a minimum wage, non-livable wage job while your dad makes sure you gets hired by a Fortune 5 company because of his frat brother. All of that is racism, right? Like, none of this stuff makes sense. And until we like learn how racism have morphed into a whole different thing, then we always going to be victim, because they literally have kind of like reverse marketed racism right under your nose. You know, it's just the fact that you can't even really afford the way you can't even afford to live. That's racism,
Man.
right? Because now they got all the money. give you any. How you gonna say Black Lives Matter over Black displaced people? Like, I don't even understand. Do you understand how sick that is? So Black Lives Matter as long as you're not homeless, and as long as you're not sleeping with my daughter, and as long as you don't live in my neighborhood, and as long as I don't have to employ you.
And as long as you don't have a bad interaction with the police.
Yeah, so none of that. So at the end of the day, all of it is pageantry, but it is racism. Racism now is literally become a cultural institution. It's no longer, you Black this or segregate that, or no, it's literally saying, create the jungle, feed the animals, we lock them up in the zoo, wash and repeat, right? That's racism.
Away their resources and watch them eat.
Correct. Exactly. That's racism, right? It's no longer, everything has an origin, right? Everything right now, if you look at everything we go through now at our age group, whether you being a Gen Y, a Gen Xer, or a millennial, everything really kind of starts from after the civil rights movement and our plight and our trope, whether it be
Bang.
what happened was after we gained civil rights, what did they do? They ushered in the welfare system. The welfare system did what? Broke up the nuclear Black home. Fast forward a little bit, more years to the 80s, we're gonna usher, Black people ain't got money, but Black people work. But the money at the time was expensive, right? Higher interest rates. What did Reagan do? He introduced something called supply side economics, the trickle down effect, right? So what did that do? Then I'm gonna usher crack in because more Black people are working. It's not that they're rich, they're just working. People was doing what? Recreational drugs, not understanding how powerful crack cocaine was. So what did that do? The few nuclear Black homes that's left are devastated. Now you have a class, though. You have like a rich Black class from the drug game, and then you have just the dispersed, right? Just everybody just out here surviving. And then what happened? The Clintons come in and say, y'all been on welfare too long. Yeah, we created it, but guess what they said? Oh, you welfare queens. So now we're gonna welfare reform. All of it
and not
is just
only
a
that,
constant cycle.
The 92
right. Crime
92
bill.
crime bill. The
Right.
87 crime bill, excuse me, it was actually first written in 87, 88 and revised in 92.
Right. The 87 crime bill came obviously because of the crack era, right? But the reason why they fell back off that was what? Because you got word that CIA and it was almost like government, and then they brushed that under the rug, and then they used the 92 crime bill as a form of the whole welfare reform. You know what I'm saying? All of it is a wash and repeat.
But do you see what you guys are talking about right now? You guys are talking about politics.
Correct.
That's how you gain power in this country. But if you, as a person in this country, grows up in an environment where you are subject to crime, subject to drugs, subject to chaos, the chances of you coming out of that environment without a record that can block you from gaining a seat in politics is very high. I was watching this movie. I used to watch a movie called Underworld. You guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Vampire werewolf movie. And I'm sitting there and I was watching the commentary on the movie, and I'm listening to all the actors because I love the fight scenes in that movie. And I'm listening to the actors, and they're saying that they had never been in a real fight in their life. Never in their life. I mean, the toughest ones in the movie, like the old vampire and with all the skills and all that, that man said he'd never been in a fight ever in his life. Now, how many of us can say that? How many of us grew up in an environment where we've never been in a fight? And that's the difference. They they control the policies. They control the standards on how to get into, to be able to control these policies and politics. They control the system and they make the rules. Until we understand that, we're always going to be behind. Go ahead, fam.
Real quick, my brother Byron, you've been patient. Let me do this real quick. I gotta drop a bomb for the Reverend Dollar B. Green coming in and giving us that smoke. Brother, go ahead and say what's on your mind.
No, I mean, I'm just listening. and I don't disagree with nothing that's said. I think the overwhelming narrative is, how I gotta put this. The narrative of this country has never changed. The narrative of this country is get land for free and get labor for free. It's always been this way. It has morphed into a multitude of ways. So how we do that? Well, we know stealing from the indigenous people, taking Africans over here for free labor. We got that point. But what we missed is how the system may have adjusted, but the mission never changed, right? So what happens right after, the slaves are freed and they change the bills? What's the first thing they say? Well, slavery exists only if you get locked up. So immediately, like I'm from the south, from deep down south. So immediately, millions of black men and black women get arrested, put in jail for black behavior, chilling on the corner, doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? The vagrancy laws that lock us all up, basically putting us back into slavery again. Fast forward again, they look at our behaviors and say, oh, well, crime bill, there's crack, there's cocaine. Well, we're going to punish y'all for crack. Why? Because if I can arrest you more, I can put you back into prison, which is slave labor. As a matter of fact, if you check Wall Street, they actually predict from the day a black woman gives birth to a black child, and if they're going to go into a public school system, they can predict when, not if, when you will go into the prison system. That is predicted. That is a worldwide commodity. So we don't even get this. And what is the most people that's locked up right now? Black people and Hispanics, which really and truly ain't nothing but descendants of indigenous people. If you really want to get down to it, they're just a combination of indigenous. They call them Mexicans. Man, them people been there. Them indigenous people. So you got indigenous peoples and Africans are the number one procurers of the forced slave labor in this country, which they can predict from the day you are born. You know what I'm saying? So you got that portion of it. You got the other side of the land stuff, right? So what they'll do is, I'll say I'm from the South, there is literally countless of stories of black people, and we already know about the indigenous people. We see that going on right now in Dakotas. They trying to take their land to do oil stuff up there, right? But black people in the South getting their land tricked and robbed away from them for nothing, right? The land that they earned even post-slavery, that's been in their family for generations, basically stripped away from them, herded away, right? And so now you see the system doing exactly what it's designed for: take land, get free labor. It's adjusted itself over and over and over again. And so the results of that is you get police, and now I'm just bringing all this up back to policing, right? Well, policing was always what? To manage the property, manage the labor. That was your responsibility. Keep them in line. So when we see these killings of black bodies by police, they don't doing this the way that the system has designed it to do, and that's to manage the property, manage the labor. So what all they're doing is going in the farm and say, hey, look, I grew up in rural areas, so you got an out of line. If you got an out of line stallion or whatever, and you can't get that stallion in his mind right, if you can't cut it, and sometimes you might have to cut off his genitals to if that don't get right, that's what you got to do. You got to take him on back and put a couple in his head to make sure that he don't influence them to cut up. That happens to our people, right? We get in these situations and we buck back against the police, and sometimes we ain't even bucking back. We just being a man, being a woman, being human. Nah, Negro, get back in line. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take you out, but I'm gonna make sure that not just you see it, all your people see it, so they know. So now mothers and fathers gotta have their talk with their kids. I got kids. Piankhi, I know you got kids. Your brother got kids. Or kids that y'all influence. Everybody, you gotta have that talk with their kids to say, hey, look, I know you want to do what's right, but 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, say yes sir, no sir, just come home to me. I know they wrong. I know they in the wrong. I know when you in trouble, you think you supposed to call the police to come help you, little 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryan, when people trying to jump you at your house. But be careful, because when they get there, they ain't coming there to put down the situation. They come there to make a statement. And is that our people sitting here egging on. We got grown men and grown women. Now, one time, all them adults out there, let's keep it real. All them adults out there, it shouldn't have been no police involved. These grown men and grown, I should have broke this up. That's a 16-year-old. Y'all know that. But no, y'all too busy trying to put stuff on you. Ooh, they boxing, they fight. Man, get in the middle and cut that foolishness out instead of calling the police, because they're not coming there to de-escalate. Now, I say you got some good brothers and sisters on the police force. I got family in the police force. I'm not saying that every single one, but the system itself is not designed to be sympathetic towards African-based people. It's just not. It never has been. It never will be. And so for us to begin navigating this thing and really understanding the bear's roots, I gave this example because I'm frustrated like y'all were of hearing all these people giving reasons why the young girl should have got killed. Like, first of all, there's no reason why a 16-year-old need to be killed. Point blank, period. I don't care. You can call it justification you want to. I don't see how you can justify a 16-year-old girl being killed. That's that. I don't get that conversation. But then the other part is this. I've seen multiple videos of policemen.
I already know. Say it.
Of policemen showing with the big word they said discretion, right? Crazy white people. Matter of fact, it was about 2 weeks ago. White man ran his truck into a police car and backed up into another police car, got a big fat white cop on the police door. He ran off, pulled off full speed with the cop hanging on the door. No shots fired.
No shots fired.
Home. Matter of fact, another story I think I want to say somewhere in the Midwest where a cop pull up to the white man in the truck. The white man tell him, "I will kill you. I'll shoot you in your face." He telling the cop that. Dude get to go home. You got the other video to do with a whole machete out here in broad day, and police get scared to come up to him. I seen videos of policemen, people finessing out of police cars and stealing the cop car and running off. They live.
That's the one.
They got the.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
bro.
you got it.
This brother, this man, white man, wrestles with a female officer, takes her gun. The male officer runs up, pulls his gun on him. He gets in her cruiser, takes off, and neither one of them fired a shot.
So don't tell me. And this is how they get us. They say, "Oh, well, she followed. Well, the policeman followed the letter of the law." I'm not talking about the letter of the law, but I'm saying is that when it comes to that big D word, discretion, it seems like you always find enough discretion when it comes to y'all people. You find a reason. You find reasons to not shoot to kill y'all people, but for my people, a blink of an eye is a threat.
That's what I just said, bro.
Exactly. And that's called the true essence of white supremacy.
That's it. I'm gonna go to Sabio, but before I do, I'm gonna say this. Black Lion Supreme said this on Dagger Squad the other day. He said it's funny, but white cops use discretion with just about who they want to, but especially other white people. And then we got black cops who are especially aggressive with us. So we screw either way it goes. You said something powerful, Brian. My son, 14. Now I'm 6'2", 280. I was 360, but thanks to seeing brothers like Reverend Dollar B. Green doing pull-ups all the time, I got motivated to lose weight. But I
Tabernacle.
My son, who almost as tall as me, hands bigger than mine. He a big boy, and he's physically imposing. And his attitude is similar to mine at his age. So he not with the shenanigans. And I have to tell him, I'm basically telling my son to emasculate himself. That's what it feels like. When you encounter a police officer, you have to emasculate yourself, son.
Yep.
Like everything that you are, your personality you have to be the opposite of that, because me and your mama want you to come home. Whether you walk into the store, you walk into the park, whatever it is, you have to emasculate yourself. When I remember when we first moved out here, I used to walk him to school every morning because I ain't want nobody stopping my son and talking crazy to him. I got more comfortable when he started riding the bus because high schoolers and middle schoolers ride the bus together. So he was on the bus with his sister. But I was that paranoid about somebody stopping my son and mistaking him for an adult or mistaking him for somebody who he wouldn't because of the climate we live in. Go ahead, Sabio.
Nah, you know, everybody just made a lot of points that, you know, I try to get people to see, you know. And I guess I'm not doing a good job of it because I don't express it straightforwardly enough. I guess. I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I guess people just like playing games, you know? And it's the games that has got us stuck. You know, we can't be afraid of conversations like this, you know? This is the real. And the brother Byron, he just said a lot of the same sentiments that I have been saying since I've seen the video. And my main point of contention is the last thing that he said. They do not use discretion. And it's because of some operations and some laws that has been passed. They have been trained to shoot first, ask questions second. They rarely reach for their non-lethal weapon. Just check any of the videos. You had a brother shot in South Carolina yesterday in commission of a warrant being served. He was shot and killed. I mean, in North Carolina, excuse me.
But to say, but I ain't mean to cut you off, but just to add on what you said, look at what happened to the brother who got popped by the officer who thought she had a taser, right?
Right.
And they come with all these situations. No, what happened is she is so much trained and used to when it's a black body involved to go to that gun that it is almost become an automatic. But she don't even think about it.
She didn't even think about it.
In her mind, she might have been thinking taser. She might have, but she is so used to when she see a black body to reach for that gun that it's become
reflex.
It's like breathing.
Hey, that's a hell of a call too, B, because that's exactly what it was. She's so used to when she see a black body, when she recognizes he black, because remember, this brother mixed, his mother white. But, but to her, he just another nigga. And
it's what I said. It's what I said earlier. You know, when they see us, they panic, automatically panic. They are so fearful of us. It's crazy,
man.
But and that's my whole point. Is like people keep talking about her. Oh, she was thinking taser. My whole point is like we even having the right discussion. I'm not thinking about what she was yelling taser or thinking taser. Is that it's like chewing gum. It's like breathing. It's automatic. So for her, the way she's been trained, the way she's operated her 25 plus years, when she see a black body that's in a quote unquote hostile situation, the first move is to go to the gun. It's not even, you're not even thinking about it. It's like, oh, black body gun, boom. Boom, black, boom, boom. I automatically go to it. Even if my mind say that like I'm right-handed, right? If somebody tell me to write something, I automatically go to hand. Automatically, I'm not even gonna think about it. Even my left hand, I can do just as much. I can pick up a 25-pound dumbbell the same way I can with my right hand. But because my whole life I'm right-handed, it's automatically for the first thing for me to go to is my dominant hand, my right hand. In her situation and many of their other situations, the automatic dominant responses go to lethal force. Even if they believe that they should have went to non-lethal force, the automatic responses go to lethal force.
Even when somebody running away, because if somebody running away from you, clearly they ain't a threat. But you still went to the lethal force as opposed to Black Lion Supreme. I'm sorry, Sabio, was you finished?
Black Lion Supreme, good.
Go ahead, Black Lion Supreme.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show you that it takes bloodshed for change. Look what happened, family. We have a brother out here with a European's knee on his head, on his neck, for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's not just murder. That is torture. Imagine someone holding you down, holding your legs down, and you have some European cracker dog with his knee on your neck. The frustration of that alone is enough to spark a heart attack. Let alone he cutting off your air supply, and he's begging to breathe, begging, and they leave him like that. They stand there with a stone face, thinking to themselves that even if something were to happen, they would get off. They didn't know they were being recorded until it was too late. Look at their police report. Look what they put in there to save their own damn ass. And they would have got away with it had they not been recorded outside of themselves. So this is what I mean. They have set up an atmosphere for our demise. They are not going to allow us as a people to rise to our potential. That would be detrimental to their advancement. And they know it. We're the only ones who's crazy enough not to believe it. We're the only ones who don't understand the power that we possess when it comes to them. And if it wasn't so, how come they haven't sent us all back to where they took us from? If they hate us so much, why don't they send us all back to our roots? It's because they need us far more than we need them. And we are far more powerful as a unit than they are. We just will not realize it because we have been, just like my brother Piankhi said, we have adopted their mindset. We are mimicking the European. We have a if we can't beat them, let's join them attitude. Well, that will never help us rise as a people. We have to have an independent mindset, a mindset that is for the best of us, a mindset that puts us above the rest. And unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but nothing can be done without a physical confrontation. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. This talking and marching and begging and stepping fetching stuff, they laughing at us. They are literally laughing at us, family, because they understand that only force will get things done. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Brother Supreme, this is something you said, and I want to pose this question.
Hold on, real quick, Brian. Hold that thought. Don't forget. I want to let the good Reverend go because after you ask Black Line, I got a question for everybody. You there, Rev?
Real quick. I don't really have much to say outside of that. I mean, because at the end of the day, how can I say this? I'm trying not to. I mean, it's just politics, right? So politics is the game and government how it's played, right? So we are the ones that, listen, we're locked out. Like, if you really want to be honest with it, right? Like, some of my friends, some of your friends was like celebrating Kamala, right? But maybe because I've been to India, I knew Kamala's like, right? Because there's no such thing as a broke Indian leaving India, right? If you're like I've been to India, and I always tell people, India is what really helped me like solidify me being an atheist, right? Because when you see a group of people eat, sleep, defecate, wash clothes, drink out of the same river, and then tell you it's because of the God, because of their past life and the God wanted that, I was like, yeah, there ain't no such thing as God. Like, what are we talking about? But I just want to ask a lot of people who might ever, who sees this video on a later date. Kamala's your first Black female president, right? Everybody's sister girl magic, Kamala, right? You seen what she said a couple weeks ago when they started the Asian, Stop Asian Hate. She said, I'm your first female Asian president. I said, well, I'll be
there.
Right? I
said, so we not ski weeing no more. We not sister girl magic no more. We not ski weeing and shoe wooing no more, right?
We ain't bopping the Mary J no more.
Right. So it shows you like the bait and switch. We have this emotional attachment to a skin color, but like the great people said before, it's all skin folk ain't your kinfolk. I don't care if her father is a coolie or whatever y'all want to think. She is a Brahmin Indian. That's just what it is. And if you think a Brahmin Indian identify with your black problem, okay,
something wrong with you.
just go to a Dwayne Reed in New York or Walgreens or a pharmacy and look at how they look at you when you give them your money. So, like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
The woman husband wears a yarmulke. I guarantee you anything, when she was a prostitute and she used to come home and eat dinner, she'd be like, man, these niggas is crazy. I guarantee you she said it at the dinner table.
Look on my channel, look on this channel, Paradigm Shift TV, and look for the hypocrisy of Kamala Harris.
Yo, it's literally, honestly, Kamala is actually a worse depiction of blackness than even Obama. If you want to be honest, she was actually worse. She was actually worse. She married. See, like I said, I kept my mouth shut because I know how people are. But like I said, I used to date a woman in San Francisco who worked for her when she was with Mike Brown, his son, owned a store in San Francisco called True. And I used to date a woman that was right in there with it. So I knew what was the game. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, yeah, sister girl magic. Like, listen, if you think, the problem with us is that we don't realize what elitism does to our own folk, right? As soon as a person get out of like what we call blackness, right? And they get them a little bit of money, they get them a little bit of quality of life, they kind of like separate themselves from what it even means to go through the everyday struggle. You understand what I'm saying, y'all? Like, so for example, look at Vlad TV latest interview with Michael Jai White. You know, I don't mess with Vlad, but the only thing I mess with Vlad about is when he talks about the importance of finances in comparison to everything else. And it's always rich black people say, money ain't everything. Then why isn't your money in our communities building it back up? Right. It's so easy to say, I got my family, Lord Jesus, and we just eat dinners and laugh at each other. What? Your people are dying. And you'll sit there and say, you'll tell a poor black person who doesn't eat every day that money isn't everything to a rich white man who has all the money. Like, it's just retarded. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the bait and switch that we always fall into every day. It's our plight. We don't really understand the bait and switch. Okay, I'll give you a black face. You happy? Okay, we got an Asian. We already have an Asian hate bill. Right? They actually in Washington right now working for an anti-Asian hate representative, and we sit there happy with this. Like, it's just, you know,
we cape for every other race,
every race,
except
every race. We the only ones that's everyone ally without having an ally.
Yeah, we fight that. We fight that.
Say that shit again.
We fighting that.
That shit.
We everyone's ally without having an ally. That's just a fact.
Hey, look, the Reverend Dollar B. Green, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I gotta say.
All right,
Byron, what
right
do you have to say to Black Lion real quick?
No, I was agreeing with him. Something that he said, me and my dad talked about this last year when we talked about Chauvin killing, right? And he said, you can see how white America deals and lives in hypocrisy. And I was like, Dad, what you talking about? And he was like, think about mob justice, right? I said, okay. He said, had this been when he was growing up, he grew up in the Emmett Till era, right? So our brother Emmett Till was sought after, killed and maimed off of a rumor from white folks, street justice. And then when we got numerous amounts of cases of where a black person is wrongfully convicted, and then moments later, the mob outside goes out and hangs and burns him. Numerous cases, even in the justice system. So he said, so imagine how they want us to be docile to watch this man sit on our brother's neck for 10 minutes straight. And knowing that if this was 60 years ago, if the roles were reversed, they'd have killed that man right then and there. Like on some real stuff, if a black man was in a white neighborhood and kneeled on a white man's neck for 10 minutes in 1960, he wouldn't even get to minute 2 because they would have killed him right then and there. and dragged his body in the streets, and nobody would have said the difference. But now they expect us to not have bloodshed. And I'm not going out there and telling everybody go tear up the streets. But what I'm saying is that the hypocrisy is y'all even though we're killing y'all be docile unless the system work. But when we was killing y'all for no reason and buck the system, y'all supposed to just accept that and get over it. So it's like, wait, hold on a second. Like, which one is it? Because it was cool for you 60 years ago, soon as somebody was out of step, to go and kill them right there in the street and go handle that right there in the street justice. But as soon as our people start thinking that, no, the letter of the law, we got to let the system work the way it needs to. Well, where was the system for Emmett Till? Where was the system for all my brothers and sisters that got wrongfully convicted in the jail cell? We just saw, matter of fact, about a year or so ago, what's that movie, Just Mercy, with Jamie Foxx, when he was playing the brother who got wrongfully convicted. I read his story. Man, they was trying to kill that dude. And he didn't even touch that white woman that killed him. But they was trying to kill him. They was trying, like, by the grace of God, he was able to survive long enough to finally get his case overturned. But they was trying to kill him. But how many other brothers out there who was wrongfully convicted being killed off? Even if they were rightfully convicted, being killed off by street mob justice. So it was so we gotta wait for the system for our people, right? We gotta wait a year and a half to have a trial so everybody can see what was wrong. But 60 years ago, if the brother whistled at the white woman wrong, that's grounds for public execution. Like you see the hypocrisy that like, and I'm just backing off of what the brother Black Lion said, is that the blood in the streets type of scenario is that they move the goalposts every time. So when it's time for the roles to reverse and say, hey, we need to handle this one way or the other, y'all gotta calm down. Y'all got to be careful. Y'all can't just go out here and do that. It's like, wait, hold on a second. Y'all didn't even do that.
Real quick, now check this out, because I'm gonna bring it back around to you, because you dispelling a myth that I had in my head, and I'm gonna tell you what it is in a minute. And the one thing I want to highlight about what you said, a lot of times they were straight up lying on our brothers and sisters, but mostly our brothers, about what they was accusing them of. So when they would say a brother did something, 9 times out of 10, he hadn't even did it. They was just looking for an excuse to do something to a black person, to cause ruckus and chaos in a black city, just because they saw a black man doing well and getting money, or just living comfortably. They just hated it so much that they would make shit up. But the other thing is, I'm gonna tell you why you dispelling something, because coming into this conversation, what I was seeing was a lot of conservative, quote unquote, conservative black people, and a lot of Christian black people making excuses for this police officer. But as you know, you are a Christian and you ain't having it. And so you dispelling something, because I'm just like, I'm seeing this and I'm just getting more and more fed up. And of course, the non-Christian in me is just like, is this a thing? Is this a symptom of Christianity? So I'm glad you jumped on, because that was something I was going to ask the brothers later on. And I'm still asking. And I want to see what your perspective is on why your fellow Christians seem to be doing that, because I'm sure you see it. So that's my question.
Christians. Not even when I was a Christian was I having it. I still was.
Something going on with your mic, Black Line. Something going on with your sound.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
You got
the robot going.
Yeah, like you're underwater.
Let me try again. Hold on. Let me try again.
But to answer your question, there's more of us who think like me than that. What you see is, I mean, I give it like this: black people, period, are not a monolith. I don't care if you're Christian or not. No doubt. So I'm always give grace to say all of us don't think the same when it comes to these situations. I've seen brothers and sisters that are like, nah, man, this ain't justified, and seen people who try to make excuses. What has happened is they have taken an ideal, because you have taken to me, a white man's perversion of Christianity, juxtapose that with a white apology for why something is justified, and then said like, oh, well, I've seen the post. Well, the Christian thing to do is the A, B, C, D, and third. And I'm like, that's not one. This shouldn't have nothing. Justice shouldn't have anything to do in this matter of your faith practice. Like I'm Christian, and I'm telling you that situation was wrong, and I'm giving y'all all the spill and stuff like that. Two, it's not the historic Black Christian narrative in the first place. Look at Black. I'm just talking about from a Christian narrative because you asked me about Christian. That's all. I'm just going. The Black church Christian narrative has always been anti this foolishness. What we talking about? Even one of our greatest in the history of our tradition, Marcus Messiah Garvey, was like, nah, bro, do for self. Forget these white folks. You got Booker T, same way. Even W. Du Bois, though he started with the talented Tim, by the time he got around and he finally went to an HBCU and got from on them white people fingertips and went to Fisk University, I believe, he was like, wait, hold on a second. I got to change up the way I'm handling this stuff. So we see this throughout the Black church's history. What you're saying right now is a post 1970 phenomenon of trying to assimilate to a certain ideology, so we make sure that we can always move forward. But no, we should always challenge what's wrong is wrong, what's right and right. And look, I ain't got no problem. Look, if something happened and they was out there busting guns at each other and the cop pull up and got to handle his business, look, I can't say, y'all busting guns. But in this situation, like you say, the young girl calling the police and in less than 22 seconds, he got the gun out. That's the same people that was giving an excuse for back in the day when our young brother, man, he arrested Priest Tamir Rice, who the police car hadn't even stopped yet. Hadn't even stopped. And they pull a gun out and put like 3 shots in his chest. 12 years old. I'm like, nah. We gonna handle this the right way, and we're gonna handle this thing the right sort of way and the way we got to depict these things. But yeah, I'm like you, I've seen it, and I've argued with brothers and sisters who they may be Christian, they may not be Christian. But I will argue with Black brothers and sisters right now. They're gonna people who watch this video and be like, man, he tripping, or I don't agree with him. That's fine. But what you're not gonna see is like not gonna see me never put a position where I ain't defending my people. And when I defended what's right and right, what's wrong was wrong. And as you remember, when I first stated, I put the responsibility not on the police officers, but on them grown ass Black people allowing that stuff to happen in our community. The police should never even be involved in the first place because our community didn't take care of our own business first.
That's a fact.
Real talk. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah, you still got it going on. I don't know what that is, bro.
You might have to come back and go out and come back in.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that now. I'll be right back.
Okay.
No offense to our brother Byron, because I know he's a Christian. And two, me and Sabio spoke about this the other day. Me and Unc, we speaking about this a lot in private. The belief in God in 2021 has to be kind of considered mental illness. When you look at everything that goes around you, I think I got kicked out. Can y'all hear me?
No, you good, bro.
Yeah, you good.
Oh, all right, you good. All right. So when you look at everything that goes around you, right? If you're gonna acknowledge that there is a deity that created you, then you gotta kind of acknowledge that deity that really don't care about you, right? So, for example, the one thing COVID has done is show that anyone's deity is not more powerful than actual like science, or actually like kind of like just light, right? So, for example, think about just basic living. I used to be a staunch Christian, Bible toting, scripture quoting, washed in the blood of the Lamb Christian, right? But one thing that always sat with me as a child, being in Northern Jersey in the New York City area, was like, if I got to step over a dope addict to get in the church, how powerful is my church? Like, so God, this is the sanctuary, the temple of God. This is where God resides. But outside of it is destitute, desolate, depravity, poverty. Go up the street to the suburbs, maybe one church. Drive down the street to the city, churches on every block. So the church must be Jesus' summer home, because he's never there. But when you go to the suburbs, he's there because there's none of this other stuff that I see in the middle of the inner city. That's when I kind of like steered away from it. But what COVID has done is put jet fuel into either. Now, the one thing I do understand is that when you are in the, one of my favorite quotes from my favorite books, Prometheus Rising, right? As the thinker thinks, the prover shall prove. This is why I don't argue God with anyone any longer, right? Because I understand the mind of the believer, right? Once you attach to yourself to it, you kind of have to just like soul all the way in, right? So they'll tell you, if you just want to have a good argument with some of these people, not my brother Byron, but obviously he has a different thought, even if he's having this conversation. But if you talk to the average Christian, like, what is their defense mechanism? It's just conjecture, right? It's never logic. Like, I have these arguments on a daily basis with people, right? And I'm talking about, I had one guy tell me, yo, how many people live in New York? I'm like, close to 8 million. And he said, if everyone had a car, what would happen? I said, traffic. He was like, right. So God knows that everyone doesn't need a car. So I said, you're literally gonna tell me that God wants some of us in poverty because we will all be like, what, rich and happy? Like, what are you saying? He was like, yeah, but like, that's why he wants some of us broke. And I just had to walk away. Cause I like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you really talking about? Like, so none of this stuff makes sense until you just like kind of like practice logic. Once you practice logic, you will realize the devil is nothing but God in the ski mask, right? It's the same person. Because it's like, if you created me, think about this. This is the only question that I stump any believer of any deity in. I say, if you had 3 kids, could you watch 2 of your children eat and one of them starve? They say no. I said, then how could your creator watch your brother live on the street? Like, what are we talking about? Like, so all these people ain't drug addicts and like degenerates that are like displaced, right? If Black people, which we do, make up 50% of the homeless population in the United States, where is my deity? And I'm sure Sabio, and I'm sure myself, and a lot of Black people would love to hit God up and say, hey, rent due this month. That rent moratorium about to end. Student loans due this month. Can't default on that. None of it makes sense, right? It's a form. I had one of my good friends I grew up in the church with, he made a post today that said, the problem with Christians is that we get prosperity always mixed up with having money. And then he quoted 3 John verses 1 and 2, where it says, therefore, my brother, I would love to see you prosper in all things with your soul. I said, Chucky, did Jesus have a credit card bill? Did Jesus have to pay rent? Did Jesus have a son who tooth was hurting, but he didn't have insurance, so he couldn't fix it? How does your soul prosper when you have all those things in front of your face on a daily basis? If you don't even know what you're going to eat, how could you actually mentally prosper? You understand? Do I make sense, or if I'm kind of like somewhere else?
Bro, you make perfect sense to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Like, I wrote a poem called "The Man Under the Bridge." I met this brother. This was 2014. I was working downtown by Ballpark Village. If you ever been to St. Louis, down where the Cardinals play. And,
I've been to the Lou.
And he, this brother. So we coming to work. I was working part as a temp at Tums. And so we would park our car down in this little fenced area, and then we would walk up the street to the Tums building. This brother would get up, he would fold up his cover, get his cooler, and get his cup and everything, put his cover and everything in a book bag, real neat, dust himself off, put his shoes and stuff on, or if he ain't already have them on, and he'll walk down to White Castle's and get himself a coffee, and he would take us to work. And then by the time we'll be getting off, because a lot of times we work 10 to 12 hours, by the time we getting off, he was settling back down under the bridge. And so one of the white guys, he was actually a pretty good singer. I had a couple of albums him and his band put out. And he asked him one day, what his story was. His wife had passed, and his children was taken away from him by her parents, and because he was a former what is it, not stockbroker, but he was a type of financial advisor, real smart, but I can't remember. Something like that. And
I think I met the dude.
Okay, yeah, because he apparently he had been down there for a couple of years, or like a year and a half.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I've talked
that barbecue place that used to be down there.
Yeah, I gave him $2.
Yeah, people would, make sure, because sometimes he wouldn't have no money to get a coffee. He'd go in there and just get water. And so, but anyway, her parents, because he kind of had a nervous breakdown when his wife died, lost his faith, stopped coming to church, and he was kind of struggling with his job. And her parents, based solely off the fact that he stopped coming to church and stopped believing in God, began to question whether he was fit to raise his kids. They had 3 kids, and successfully took his kids from him. Well, then now he then sunk deeper into depression, because my wife is dead, and these people who I thought was family to me took my children from me. His parents had already passed on, and he didn't have any siblings, and he was he lived, I forget what state, but he was from another state. So, but he didn't want to leave this state because now his kids are here. He could only visit his kids for 6 hours on Saturdays. And so he was just doing what he could to get by. He ended up losing his house, and just one thing after another, lost the job, etc. But he was going on with his life. But like you said, this man was not on drugs. He wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't destitute. Brilliant. Like, he'll start talking about philosophy and, just different things, literature, math, and why he loved math. And you like, so yeah, Sabio, so you definitely met him, Sabio. But, and you sitting there and you like, man, this brother, like, you want to help him and try to figure out. Hey,
you want to help. That's what made me give him the $2.
Yeah, and
I was actually in college, and he was like, brother, continue in college.
Yeah, he was not a crackhead or nothing like that, and he was doing what he could for himself. And to see that, it put you in a whole different mind frame of the homeless. Because if you're not careful, you will get a particular idea about the homeless that's not really true for all of them. And so I know, I can definitely relate to what you're talking about, but I want to give Byron a chance to respond.
No, I mean, I'm respect. I disagree.
You going in and out, B.
I'm breaking up.
You having the same problem I had.
Yeah,
How about now? We better?
Yeah, you good now. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just saying, I respect the brother's opinions. I mean, I agree, but I definitely respect them, and that side of it. My only counter, respectfully, would say, and again, I know we're not really trying to debate it, or we just really talking about the topic. But my only counter to that would say is that as a black man and as a person of African descent, I don't really see anybody in African history, not believing and adhering to a deity, understanding his deity and what's going. So, whether you Christian or not, again, come from my perspective, like I don't really see anyone in African history to have a position of a non-theist worldview. But that would be my own thing. But again, I still respect, as a man and as a human being, you got your viewpoints and your worldview, and even some things, and you got your experiences, and even things that I would say that the church isn't beyond reproach, and there's things that we need to fix. But that's really it. Like I say, it's not incontentious. It's just I can still work with you. because we're still talking about the same thing in this conversation.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I don't.
You know what I'm
The
saying?
one thing about me is now if it had been 4 years ago, what were we in 2020? It'd have been like 2013. I used to think that you could enlighten someone by it doesn't, like I say, as the thinker thinks, the prover shall prove, right? So you will always find someone that will say, well, ancestors, right? I remember the first debate I ever had with Jeremiah Judah, right? You know what he said to me? He was like, I'm gonna prove to you atheism. And I was like, bro, I'm not telling you that you could prove atheism or disprove atheism, right? So you know what he says to me? He goes like this: the Twa people, the pygmy, this one, that one, that one, right? He went through all these Africans, right? That believe in God. You know what I said to him? They were all conquered. What are you talking about? So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, really what a person what's in as a man thinketh, so shall he be, right? Which is to me the most powerful, one of the two most powerful Bible verses, right? Even though it's a Masonic saying, is really a powerful thing, because if you think there is one, there will be one. You can never argue a kid that's 8 years old who believes in Santa that Santa doesn't exist, right? And it's the same thing with God. If you feel that that's what's in you and that's what makes you whole, then that's why the Bible says, greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world, right? What's inside of you will manifest. People don't really understand what those verses mean, but I get it. The point I'm making is this. I always tell people two things. If you really want to, like, the reason why I took a step back, I think I told Patah this, I told a few people this. The reason why I took a step back from the being on Sinetta's channel, the few times he had me up there, I had to really understand something. I've been lucky, right? And I always tell, Sabio heard me say this, Patah heard me say this. I've been lucky. When you understand, I was born in a crack era with two parents that never used drugs. And what it did was it gave me a functional childhood. All I had to do, go home, be fat, watch Saved by the Bell, eat, do homework, go to sleep. Whereas a dude in my class might not even have the lights on when he came home, right? So what it did is a functional child was able to give me a functional adulthood to where I was able to travel the world. And I'll never forget my first time in China. It was really Hong Kong. And I looked out my window at 7 a.m. their time. And I seen Chinese people doing Tai Chi towards the sun. You know what I said? My mother wakes up every morning at 7 a.m. to pray to Jesus. It's the same thing. Like, it's literally cultural, right? Geographical, cultural, expressions. And like I said, when I went to India, all of it went out the door. But then I was like, ain't no way in the world is somebody looking down at us like how these people can live, right? And when I really became ingratiated into Western Europe, whether it be Italy, Stockholm, Amsterdam, Germany, I don't really argue with a lot of people's like, did this person exist, that? Because once you go to these cities, a lot of the history is there, right? Because a lot of these people like acculturated their religion there. They'll laugh at you. They'll be like, you believe in this stuff? They'll kind of like tell you, because if you amongst Latin people spoke that language, like, what are you talking about? None of this shit is real, right? But you also understand that there's some truth, right? So I could show y'all pictures of when I went to the Basilica del Petrino, right? And you go inside, there's black popes inside of the thing. You understand where I'm coming from? So some of it is real and some of it isn't, right? It's just how much are you you really got to go to these places and do what I've done to really understand the hoax, right? The point I'm making is we work together. And the only things, and I'm sure Black Lion Supreme, Sabio, like, if you really think about it though, we're so fractured, like, we really can't work together. Because me, I don't have to, like, I've stepped away from arguing God. Like Patah tell you, if you go on my Facebook page, I troll 24/7. Because I know nobody want to hear the truth.
Yep.
No doubt.
I know nobody wants to. I troll 24/7 because I know nobody wants to hear the truth. So you know what that does? It allows me to see what a person is thinking. If you troll hard enough, you're gonna bring out their true emotions, right? But the point I'm making, I know I keep expounding, but the point I'm making is that when you look at our community, right? understand why we're fractured. Let's be honest. Like, we forget religion. Let's look at us. I didn't realize until I took a step back how mentally ill we are. If y'all seen the last few videos of Shaka on Sonetta, you cannot tell me y'all don't see mental illness in him. He's all over the place. He can't stay on topic. And then it's all of a sudden this emotion comes out of him that's just like rampant. You're like, what's wrong with this nigga? It's like, okay, you have a problem with homeboy? No problem. What's your problem? Never gets to the point of the problem. Like, yo, when you look at young Pharaoh, that's mental illness. Even though he's a hustler, and because that's what he's doing, he's hustling the people, there is mental illness, bro. Look at Umar, and you cannot tell me Umar's not mentally ill. He's gone. 100% gone, right? It's because we become caricatures of each other, right? To the point where we literally become like, you remember when Creflo Dollar asked his church for $65 million for his jet? That was him. That was him becoming the character that he played to the point where he really thought God wanted that jet. Where's that one coming from? Sabio is my witness. No one talked about money like I did. And then guess who started talking about money like I did? Brother Polite. Took my whole spill, ran with it. I laugh at everyone that gets caught up in it. I'm like, y'all niggas don't know like I know. Because I've been around them. So I know the hustle, right? The point I'm making is we don't really understand how mentally ill we are. No shots at my man, that Black Lion Supreme mentioned, Thunder. That's a form of mental illness. If you live in the South, racism affect you, brother. And like
Now,
literally
that's
says it
mental
with like,
illness for sure.
that's mental illness. And I'm
For
not taking
sure.
shots at Thunder. I'm not
I
taking
am.
shots at Thunder.
I am.
That
Go
is a
ahead, brother.
form of mental illness, right? We see it. When I'm in Atlanta, right? Because he lives in Stone Mountain. When I'm in Atlanta, you know what it is like walking down the street in Atlanta? It's like watching a black and white TV and a high definition TV at the same time. Because you can see a Bentley drive past Peachtree Street and then turn down North 3rd. Turn down North 3rd going to Ponce and see a whole tent city full of black people. That's racism. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? The point I'm making is this is the problem. Black Lion Supreme could tell you, Sabio tell you, like, let's look at our brothers, right? You look at ISUPK. Them, like, that's mental. And no offense, because I know Patah has a brother that's a part of that. I'm not taking shots at them. What I'm showing you is, I'm telling you, I heard Tazariak say, hide your liquor, hide your wives. But then you're going to get mad at Sakari hollering at women? That's mental illness.
But what you're saying is facts. It's not like you saying something
facts, though.
that's not on point.
That's mental illness, bro. That is mental
It is what it
illness.
is.
Because when you look at it, if we were really, because I don't have no problem with Byron believing in that. Because then if I did, I would be a hypocrite because I was once a Christian. So I understand the paradigm shift that I had then, paradigm shift that I had now. Right. You know where I'm coming from? I could reach over to Byron and say, bro, if you believe that a white man in Victoria's Secret gown gonna crack the sky, God bless you. How are we gonna get us out of bondage? That's it. I don't have to say ISUPK, the home of the truth, under the. I don't have to say all that. I'm like, bro, you black first. You black first. That's just me.
And that's what it is.
If you can put your religion in your pocket when it comes to politics.
And that was the point I was leading to, Black Lion Supreme. That was the point I'm leading to. We will never do it. And no offense to Byron, that's the point I was leading to, Black Lion Supreme. So
and
God is there. People's God.
Bit of something. I'm sorry. I know a little bit of something about it because I tried to start an organization. Well, I did start one with a Hebrew, and we welcomed everybody. We have Christians, people into Islam. We had Black Hebrew Israelites, we had them all. And the religion didn't get in the way. It was outside forces that got in our way, but you can build with people that come from different backgrounds. It doesn't really matter if your focus is on liberation. If you put black first, you can rise. So I don't have a problem with building with a Christian. I don't have a problem building with someone, a Moor, or someone to Islam or whatever. It doesn't matter to me as long as you're black first.
So if y'all remember what I mentioned,
without uniformity, that's how I feel. Go ahead, Brian.
No, you like if you remember what I mentioned. One of the first people that I mentioned is our brother Marcus Messiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a Christian, but like if you look at any of his writings outside of when he talk about his faith, yeah, he was a Catholic. It's still contrary to what a lot of people like. It still falls under the same Christian. I know a lot of European reform people don't believe that. That's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different discussion. I can break all that down. But
talk about that another time.
Yeah. It's a whole different discussion. I say under the vein. I ain't say it was pure, but I just say under the vein. But with our brother Marcus Garvey, if you look at his UNIA, he had brothers from all over. He had Hebrews, he had Moors, he had Islam, he had atheists believing, bro. Like it didn't matter to him because what he was trying to accomplish was for the people. And like you said, for me, I don't care if I'm walking to my church or if I'm walking to the grocery store or to the gas station. If I see a brother on his knees on the side that need help, just like I won't just walk right into that gas station when I help him, I won't walk right into my church without helping him. And when I say helping him, it's not by me picking him up and coming to bring him to the pew. It's like, brother, what you need? You need something to eat. You need, like, what's going on? Like, this is how way I've operated, people around me that have operated. Because everything that I stated, that we talked about thus far in this conversation, y'all didn't hear me talk about my, belief system or anything like that. I'm talking about what's going on with our people. Because I don't know what faith or non-faith that Ma'Khia Bryant had or didn't have. All I know is she was gunned down by a white cop. Like, I didn't know, even, it came out later about with George Floyd, with, if you went to church or not, but at the time being, it didn't matter what he believed. He still was having his knee, a white man knee on his neck for 10 minutes until he couldn't breathe no more. So, like these conversations, for me, it goes beyond just saying with somebody's faith persuasion or, you're going to make this, you're going to make this. Bro, I'm not talking about that. We're talking about people that's dying right now. We're talking about people that still dealing with real life slavery, like I broke down earlier. We talking about, oh no, it is a mental enslavement. I'm not saying that neither, but there's a real system that literally from the day we are born is set up to where they can account for how many black bodies they're gonna have in the jail cell, which is modern day slavery. Like this ain't one of those things where you just make some stuff up and like, oh well, it's cool, down the third. Like I'm not concerned with that. So even like the brother DMG said, like Piankhi said, when you got Christians out here trying to make excuses, and I don't care Christians or non-Christians, I'm just saying Christians because he said that. Christians or non-Christians, if y'all making excuses for why this young lady was justified being killed, like I got a problem with that. I got an issue with it. I don't care if you my blood brother or blood sister. I'm gonna be like, nah, that's not how we rocking, because I see too many cases of this discretion that allows for other people to go home to their families, or people like Dylan Roof, feeling cool enough to go to a place of worship where people trying to give him grace, and he up there and gun down 9 people while they're trying to be peaceful, and he get to go to get Burger King, right? Or even, I know we were talking about the Asian people, whatever, but even with Atlanta, the dude going into the massage parlors or whatever the case is, and then the police chief saying, oh, well, he had a bad day. Well, excuse my French. Well, shit, I had a bad day too. I had a bad day seeing another black person getting killed out here. Like I'm tired of people having even a lot of people having this cognitive dissonance, and I'm saying our people taking on the persona of the oppressor, giving excuses of why we need to be killed out here, or what reason that we have to be justified to get murdered. or what reason they have this or reason they have that. Like, nah, bro, I'm not rocking with that. Like, and I never will. And if that means me going against every black person that I know in my family or timeline, so be it. Because I'm gonna call right is right and wrong is wrong, and that's wrong in my opinion.
That's real.
100%, 100%, 100%,
Real
You
quick.
know
Right,
So
what?
but that's
let
the
me
problem. We won't stand up for us for what's right. We have to start doing that. Go ahead, family.
that's it.
Took
What
my
I'm
words out of my mouth.
I gotta hop off in about 5 minutes. So I was gonna say everybody could close out, but if you want to keep it going, I can make Sabio the host, and y'all can keep it going.
Oh
For me.
man, I gotta get some sleep, man.
Okay. So yeah, what I'm gonna
But
do. So this is my last question. I'm
It's a
gonna
great
ask
build, though.
everybody, and once y'all answer this, I'll let everybody close out. What do we do, or what can we do as a people to get to end this cycle where we seeing our people? Because I mean, we can name the names, and the list is too long at this point. Whether we talking about Sandra Bland, Oscar Grant, Trayvon Martin, who wouldn't even killed by a cop. I don't know why this bastard's still walking around. I don't even want to start talking about it but my point being, we know the names: Eric Garner, Michael Brown, etc. What can we do as a community with the latest, this young lady being only 16 years old and having called the police herself, grown ass black people standing around before the police even got there, not doing a damn thing to de-escalate this situation? Because I grew up in the 80s. I'm 44 years old. And I know a friend of mine who don't share the same view on this situation that I do, but we was talking. Out of our 6 friends, his parents were the only ones that he lived in a 2-parent home. If his father, I was the one that was getting in the fights all the time, but his father loved me like a son. I was the best man in his wedding, and a big part of my speech was the fact that his father not only took on fatherly responsibilities for myself, me and him being friends since 5, but for every other kid on that street. And so my point being, if he'd have saw me in a similar situation, he would have came out there by himself and personally de-escalated. And if I would have continued with my aggression, he would have whooped my ass and carried me around the corner to my grandmother's house and told my grandmother, hey, had to whip his ass. He good now. He was fighting. They was trying to jump him, but I ain't let them jump him. Blah, blah, blah. And my grandmother would have thanked him. But see, we live in a world now, if I do that to another kid, I got to fight the goddamn parent, even though I just stopped your kid from getting their ass whooped by whooping their ass. You see what I'm saying? So I wonder if that was part of the hesitation, or were they just being idiots recording the situation? And so, we got to look, we going to be fair and look at each avenue as to why they didn't act accordingly. But also, what can we do as a community, as men especially, to start trying to prevent these situations from happening to our brothers and sisters at the hands of these untrained or mistrained cops? Also, these race soldier cops, because they there, and these brothers who trying to prove something to their fellow officers. What can we do to prevent our lives being taken in this manner? And is it anything we can do? I'm gonna start with our brother Sabio, then go to Black Line, then the good Reverend Byron. I'll let you go last, and then, like I say, we'll come back to myself, and then I have everybody close up.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say what I said earlier in this bill. Is what we're fighting is structural, it's constitutional. And if we don't start looking at the Constitution as something that needs to be changed, then we're going to continue to look at things short-sightedly. I know it's radical, but we have to get to the heart of the matter. And that's the heart of it. This country is ran by a constitution that was written when America was not an amalgamation of people. It was not a melting pot. We can't continue to live by a document that still looks at people as 3/5 of a human. It's in there. If anyone's familiar with the Constitution, they should all know it's in there. And these are the things that has to be addressed. Because though the Constitution is where they make the state laws and the Bill of Rights and things like that from. Without the Constitution, we have nothing. But with the Constitution, we have these laws that our lives are governed by. And until then, it's going to really be on the parents to be parents, you know? And we have to be able to better de-escalate situations and not be afraid to de-escalate the situation. You know, that's one of the biggest things is the fear and the timidity of parents because these kids are growing up so big and so fast now, you know? We can't allow that to be the reason we allow a kid to die. We can't. We have to become better parents, better people for our children. So these situations won't continue to happen. That's it.
Very well said. I'll be brief, because this is a big subject, and it's going to take a lot to change around the situation that we've been put in. First thing we have to do is understand if you know you come from better, you will do better as a people. That must be established in our mindset. Once we do that, then we can move forward and understand that we come from greatness. So now pride and self-respect is very important. And you can't have the kind of pride and self-respect that it takes to build an empire if you don't know your history. If you don't know the pros and cons of your history, so that you do not repeat the mistakes that were made by your ancestors. Unity is the key to our salvation. And so we have built networks now. We have this channel, we have Dagger Squad, we have Amara Squad, we have Sabio's Scripture Rippers channel. We have built a network, but we're stuck in that process. Now we must turn networks into an infrastructure where we're creating think tanks that will deal with economics and deal with the political and social issues that we face daily. What the issues that we have faced since the days of slavery were economic, social, and political issues. So we create think tanks to deal with those issues. We understand who our opponent is and understand what his mindset was and is that got us in this situation in the first place. The number one thought process of the European to put us in this situation was hierarchy. The fish is over the worm, the lion is over the lamb, the European is over the African. That's his mindset. How does he codify this? By looking back at his civilizations, looking at what they did, how they enslaved people, and how they grew economically. So he's using his past. He's using his position that he created by becoming the majority in this nation. And we must understand that's what we are facing. Once we establish that, then we can move forward into building a strong infrastructure that is about the issues that we face. creating more black banks, creating more black magazines, creating black news outlets, creating black restaurants, hotels. If we're going to compete here with the European in this country, if we are going to mingle with the enemy, we must be prepared to play the game as it's set before us. We must put ourselves in a position where they cannot deny us, where they will break their own laws if they did. We have to do this as a unit. We can't just do it as individuals. And until we start to think this way and move as a unit, we will always be distraught, abused, and oppressed as individuals. Every last one of them have some type of structure to deal with being mistreated. Europeans, they have the FBI, the police stations, the army. People from Asia, they have embassies to deal with their situations. So foreigners can come over here and go to one of their embassies and get help from their country if something goes wrong here. We as Black people have nothing. Nothing. So it's up to us as Black people to build something that is structured towards the advancement of our people and the protection of our people at all costs. That is the fuel of this game, is to rise by any means necessary. That's what everyone else does. So if we're going to play this game with these Europeans, we have to get into the game the way it's set up. We can no longer try to rise as individuals and think this is the best for our people as a whole. We've seen the results of trying to rise as individuals in this country, the way it's structured. It's good for us independently, but it's bad for us overall because the majority of our people are still suffering. And as Black people, that could never be good, no matter how much money we make individually, no matter how successful we are individually. If the majority of our people are losing, then we are losing. And we must adopt that mindset worldwide and get into the game that's been put before us. And I yield my time. Thanks, fam.
All right. Brother Byron.
Yeah, so to your first point, uh, I do think that what we saw out there is a reflection of our society, of people more focused on gazing and seeing what's going, what could be the next YouTube hit or next Facebook post, then pay attention to the fact that we got our own communities. We got a young girl being bullied and beat up to the point that she's in mental distress that resulted in the end of her life. So all those people, I gotta say, all those people involved, they gotta look at themselves in the mirror and sleep at night. I don't know how they're gonna be able to do that, but that's between them and what they feel. Um, I use a quote from Marcus Garvey. He says, "Up yourselves, you mighty race." And I say that because you know a couple days ago I posted 3 flags on my Facebook. I posted the freedom flag, Juneteenth flag. I posted the RBG flag, and I posted the American flag because my people come from are descendants of freedom fighters for their own freedom in this country, of being oppressed and still being oppressed. That's the flag that represents where I come from. The RBG represents for all the people from the African diaspora who were stripped from their heritage. And then the American flag is because, man, my people built this country, bro. I don't, some people subscribe to different things, but for me, I'm like, man, we need repercussions for the stuff that we did for free, and we still doing. We still are the financial back of this country right now. What they say, GDP of Black America would be like the 12th largest nation in the world. You know, like we consume, so we keep this country afloat by purchasing power. So for me, you know, it's all about us redistributing and understand what we have. The previous brother mentioned about, you know, getting more banks and restaurants and stuff like that. And I'm with that, but hell, I'm still trying to get our people to support the banks and restaurants and magazines and stuff that we got now. And that's like pulling teeth. You know, you ask a brother to go instead of going to, you know, this gas station. I'm talking about locally. We got one black owned gas station here in Baton Rouge. I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. One black owned gas station. And I'm sitting here telling people like, look, man, I know you're gonna pass like 4 or 5 Boleros and shells and stuff like that, but this one place where we got a brother, we got to go support that place. Fill your tank up over there. Get your little groceries, you know, go get your 2 for $6 over there. You know what I'm talking about? Like, but it's hard enough trying to get those people to convince them to do that. It's hard enough trying to convince my people to buy black as is. So I don't really know, you know, what has happened. Well, I do know what has. We fall into this quote unquote American dream, and you see results of that. Even dealing with that young girl the other day, because back in the day, like you described here, back in the day, man, we wouldn't let that happen. Because back in the day, there wasn't no 911 for us to call in the first place. We would have never called no police for to come to our neighborhood because they wasn't gonna come in the first place, even if it was something bad going on. So we had to have our own business. What happened to that? What happened to our own people worrying about our own selves and holding for accountability? With grown folks and grown folks and then mentoring our kids and then letting our kids be kids. Because I'm seeing too much in our community as well, to where I can't let a 15-year-old be a 15-year-old. Now he or she got to be a grown 25-year-old at 15 because of the situations that we may put them in. And we already know the white man view them, the second they turn 13, we view them as they view them as adults. I'm not worried about what the white man view them. And in our communities, we treat our young kids and even let them be kids, let them make mistakes, and not being mommy and daddy and aunts and uncles and neighborhood mothers and fathers to our own kids in our own communities. We ain't even doing that no more. We just like, man, that ain't ours. That ain't ours. I remember when I was younger, it wouldn't matter who got in trouble, man. You gonna get your butt whooped by with the nearest parent who did. It did not matter. Now we can't do it because this parent worried about this parent saying touching my child instead of y'all following no code. The code was we gotta police our own people, we gotta raise our own people, and we gotta have this internal code with our own folks. And we lost that. And we gotta find ways to gain it back. That's the only way we're gonna combat the situation. We get to the point where we don't need you for anything. You look at the Asian community, whether it be Chinese, Japanese, Indian, or whatever, you see them march. Besides the most recent event, but even now they ain't even marching in the streets for Asian hate. The only people who just say the Asian hate for they not even marching in their own streets. You don't see no Asian people marching in these streets. Why? Because they know what they ain't worried about it. Because they got their own system. They got their own sub economy. They got their own gas stations. Excuse me. Old restaurants. All that. Homeschool their own kids. So for us, what happened there for us? I don't know. Now you're my turn.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. It's yeah, Reverend Dollar B. Green.
Yeah, I just want to say, I just concur with Brother Byron, Brother Black Line Supreme. The only thing that I don't listen, I'll be honest with y'all. I'm what you call now a fatalist because I used to have this like real optimistic approach, but all I can say is like whatever the answer lies will also be in the problem, right? And when I was a kid, my mother used to take me to grammar school the first day of school. She used to take off work. She used to take me to grammar school, meet my teacher, and say, "Here's my number, and here's the belt I use on him at home." He act up.
Yo, I gotta go.
All right, you want to go first, bro?
Yeah, I just say peace. Thanks to Piankhi for having me on the panel. It was a great bill. We need to have more conversations like this. Don't be afraid. Have to bring some facts to the table though. Just don't be talking out of emotion and opinion. Be ready to read some stuff and be able to quote some stuff that you was able to read to bring to these types of conversations because we need facts and we need truth. So with that, I'm gonna just say for all those out there listening, subscribe to Scripture Rippers. And with that, peace.
All right, Sabio, peace. We
Peace,
appreciate
fam.
you.
Peace.
Hotel.
Hotel.
Go ahead and continue.
What I was saying was, we lived in a more family-oriented community, right? So, like I said, she used to let my teachers discipline me because she trusted them with raising her son. You can't do that to no child now. Supreme can't see a young man wilding and don't know his father and say, bro, that's wrong. Yeah, mother. Somebody might say, yo, that's my son. You better not lay hands on my son. Like, it's a whole different community. And then, like you said, so we look at, we live in what's called an attention economy. So like you say, you got more people filming and trying to go viral than actually intervening and saving human life. We literally become the animalistic people that they put us into these positions to be in these jungles, right? And that's why I say I don't really know outside of what Brother Byron and Black Lion Supreme, those are all implementations towards that goal. But me studying wealth the way I've been the last 5 years, understanding where our position is at in this country, politically and economically, yeah, I listen, like I said, Patai, like you seen it. Like I went from preaching to like trolling because no one wants to hear it. Like it's just, how long can you preach on deaf ears? If it's 4 of us talking and 6 of us watching, right? We need hundreds. I mean, we try every day, right? I just think that, one of my favorite terms in there's a saying in psychology that says the trees thought it was all good because they realized the axe was wood. And I don't think we realize we kill ourselves more than anything else, right? And we just don't notice it. And I think, and I'm not even talking about some bootstrapper conservative talk. I'm just saying, like, just in our behavior, the fact that we don't want to see no one like, yo, if it was a way I could help Patai, I'm gonna help him. Like I don't want nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like I tell people all the time when they ask me to teach them how to invest in stocks, I'm like, okay, charge you. They be like, why you ain't gonna charge me? Because I'm like, me helping you get some money is not gonna affect my money. I'm gonna have some money. So why not send the elevator back down? But we see everybody else become what's called super capitalists and just look at it like, well, I did it. You on my time. It's like I said, maybe because I really be around a lot of other ethnicities who do business, and I see they don't really like charge. They're like, how we gonna get some money? They'll conglomerate. They'll become a multifaceted animal before they charge each other. That's how they get us, right? Because we the ones that scattered. Everyone else practice a hyper form of nepotism, a hyper form of it, meaning they don't even know how to go to a black-owned gas station because they got an Arab gas station. They don't know how to go to a black-owned supermarket because I got my own supermarket. We the ones that will say, I don't care, my man got his own gas station. Let me go Habibi. It's just, how do we solve that? That's a true sense of self-hate and it's just a lack of awareness. So for me, it's just like, I know the problem. Look at homegirl, like I said, we live in an attention economy. That sister deserved like, it was first of all, the whole thing was a conundrum, right? I didn't watch the video because I didn't want to see another person get killed, even though I didn't jump to conclusions, right? But if the narrative, if it's true, if she's getting jumped, then she's defending herself, but then she goes into a form of rage. You understand? It's just like, it was just one thing that led to another, and then we go back to square one. The best thing I try to do in closing for myself is just lead by example. One thing I always try to do is send the elevator back down, even if it's me just reaching out to someone and say, bro, I know what you're going through. Or like I like to do, feed the displaced by myself. You know, I try to just kind of like provide balance. You know, one thing I notice about life is like, I do the crazy things, everybody comment. But when I go out and feed the less fortunate by myself, no one wants to share it. So I don't know how you like you understand? Like, how do you, it's like a Rubik's Cube, literally, right? You turn one corner, there's another one, right? And it's a conundrum. And that's why I say I agree with both brothers, Byron and Black Lion Supreme, but it's so much more layer, right? It's a layer upon layer upon layer. So after that, I yield my time.
No doubt. And that's and what the brother said is 100% fact. Like, I've never met any of these brothers in person. Like, hardly anybody you see on my channel have I met in person. And yet the brother, we became Facebook friends. He reached out to me on something else, and we just started rapping. And ever since then, anything he can do to assist me with this channel, he do it. No ifs, ands, buts, maybes about it. And so this brother is absolutely about seeing his people get out of the lower levels and moving up and ascending, if you will. And so same thing with my brother Byron. We've never met in person, but you know, we build all the time. And he didn't edify me on some things about African Christianity that I had no clue about. Black Lion Supreme, I've been following him for about a year, a little bit over a year maybe, on Dagger Squad, getting edified on some things and listening to him get it in. And so my goal is to build unity amongst our people without necessarily trying to have uniformity. Like, we don't have to believe the same thing, because I think that's where people get twisted. I tell this story all the time. Like, I almost got divorced after 20 plus years because I stopped believing in Jesus, because it was so polarizing to my wife and to everybody around me. Like, you what? You don't? What? How? Like, my aunt and uncle just recently told my cousin Shabaka, you gotta believe in something. Why do I have to believe in something? Like, what do you? But that's, that's they take, and you get to a point where, like my brother said, he don't preach no more. He just he cap and he troll on whoever he chooses to. You start picking your battles, because that's what they believe, and this is what I believe, and that's what that person believes. And
I hope the brother. I'm sorry. I just had to say this because I hope the brother keeps on preaching. I hope he keeps teaching.
No doubt.
I hope he does it 24 hours a day, because it's exactly what we need. And see, something that always bothers me when it comes to us that say we are woke is this. I always say, if we build it, they will come.
Mm.
We who are responsible, we who are woke, we have to give our people something to look forward to, a reason to say, you know what, I don't have to lean on the European structure anymore. I can go over here with my brothers and sisters, and I can build something here.
They need an alternative.
It's unfair for us to anticipate this if we don't show them something. We're woke. We have a network. This is like you said, brother Piankhi. You're bringing us all together. You're meeting people. You're networking. Now, what's the next move? And until we make that next move, how can we criticize our people who are not joining our bandwagon? We have to give them something to join. You see what I'm saying? And convenience trumps almost everything, even race. Like, if it's a black grocery store right down the street from me, and I believe this if it was a black grocery store right down the street from a European, that European is going to go to that store before he drive 10 miles to go to a white store, more times than not. But the problem is we only have a black bank here. We have a black store there. We have this here. We have this there. It's all so spread out that as convenience, we just say, well, you know what? I don't feel like driving 10 miles today to get to the black store, or 20 miles sometimes, or even 50, sometimes depending on where you live. I'll just go across the street right here to the store and get me some bread, milk, or whatever. And so that is a problem. So that's why I say we need to build more stores, more magazines, more structure. So when a black person gets up and he wants to spend his money with his own people, he doesn't have to drive damn near to have a 30-minute, 45 to an hour drive to do so. That's very important. We have to strategize our what we're trying to do. We just can't say it or produce a store. We have to get into the game of capitalism, which will be to spread out stores all over the place. If you look at these Arabs, they don't just have a gas station here or there. They have gas stations all over the city. And we have to adopt that mindset. I'm sorry, fam. Go ahead.
You good, bro. You good. And that's real. And that's kind of part of the process, because as you build, or as I build with different individuals from different ideologies, you again, let's unite, because y'all see that I'm sincere. I see that you sincere. Let's unite. We ain't got to worry about uniformity in our belief. Let's unite under the banner of that we are Black people. We are African descended people, etc. And let's build an infrastructure there. Your boy or your man's Garfield always talk about these abandoned towns all across this country. Let's start looking into that, where we can start to, for those who don't just want to go over to the continent and leave here or get dual citizenship, etc. Let's start looking here. Where like Byron said, we built this country. Let's start looking into these abandoned towns, because my parents grew up in a town right here in St. Louis called Kinloch. It was a Black town. And before you know, the sort of dominant society, for lack of a better term, started to poke and prod at it, and gentrification and you know, the different strategies that Reaganomics and other things slowly started to erode it. This was a prosperous time. And I feel like we can have that again, because we have the models for that. I saw that in my lifetime. Now, I saw it as it was on the back end, but I've heard about its more prominent times. And so I feel like we can have that again if we work together. Everybody in Kinloch didn't believe the same thing. Everybody didn't practice the same thing, but everybody knew they was Black and everybody supported each other. Everybody went to that restaurant. Everybody went to that store. Then nobody had to go out of Kinloch to get groceries if they didn't want to. Then nobody had to go out of Kinloch to get gas if they didn't want to. Church was there. It was 3-4 churches. And so given time, it probably would have been a mosque or a Kemetic temple. Who knows, if we're just talking about beliefs. So beliefs can be put to the side when we're dealing with uniting under the banner of our Blackness, in my opinion. And so you start building these bridges with our people, because we've been so broken, so shattered, so separated, that we have to start putting these puzzle pieces back together slowly but surely, and building an infrastructure and finding our own place, just like everybody else has. We talk about the Little Italies, the Chinatown, the etc. And this shit don't happen in those places. It don't. But because we don't have that infrastructure, it always happens to us. And we don't have a united front. Everybody in Little Italy ain't practicing the same thing. They have the same values. That's what it comes down to. And they all know they Italian. But I'm sure it's some Italian atheists. Even though they under the Catholic banner and all of that, I'm sure some of them don't believe. But they all know they Italian. And you don't see the same things that happen in their neighborhood happening in our neighborhood. You just don't. Same thing in Little China. They ain't all Buddhists. or a Taoist or whatever the case may be. But they all know they Chinese. Same thing with the Arabs. Like we got a place called Hollywood Beauty. It started out with one, and you're like, all right. And next thing you know, it's like 8 of them in the city. They got trucks. You know, I got a dealer's license. They was asking me about buying vans and trucks from me. Next thing you know, they got their own. And dude telling me, like we talked, and he telling me like, yeah, you know, I brought my family over here. Now I got my brother. I got the store. He has the vans, and my other brother this and that, because they understand infrastructure, they understand economics, and they understand the steps that you got to go to if you're gonna build yourself up economically. We never had that. So you get a brother like the Good Reverend, you get a brother like Black Lion, you get a brother like Byron. We can all put our heads together and figure out a strategy to start bringing our people out of this slowly but surely. And I say slowly but surely because we have so many shattered pieces. Because their culture wouldn't shatter, so they wasn't working against the same problem that we are. The Chinese culture wouldn't shatter. The Italian culture wouldn't shatter. So all of these people have a head start or a benefit that we don't have. And we just have to figure out how do we communicate with our people that I don't have to be a Christian for you to see the benefit of what I'm saying. You don't have to be a Kemetic brother or sister to see the benefit or for me to see the benefit in what you're saying. And so that's kind of my thing. My man Byron, I know you don't do too much social media, but let the people know where they can find you if they want to.
I mean, you can find me just at Byron Washington, man. You can catch me tomorrow. I'm hosting my monthly entrepreneurs market here in my city, Black neighborhood, Scotlandville Saturdays. So you probably see me on my Facebook, share that. But yeah, that's mostly it, man. I'm just here doing my community stuff for the most part.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Good Reverend, tell the people where they can find you, your products, etc.
Yeah, for right now, I'm rebuilding the website, which is passportglobal.net. But you know, I started my own little YouTube channel to kind of like promote the brand, but also do, as Black Lion Supreme say, preach every day. But I ain't gonna do that. But I have been preaching on. I'm doing this thing called the Common Sense Sermons. You know, I'm doing the Common Sense Sermons where I'm using psychology and economical terms to teach us how not to fall for these con artists and these mentally ill people that is taking our money. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, man. I've been on the low because I know what I'm working on, and COVID kind of like messed that up because like I was really gearing for the global market since I built a lot of relationships over the world. But now that I could travel again because I'm fully vaccinated, I promise problems, and I'll see y'all soon, man. I'm just gonna support all y'all brothers from afar, man. You know, like I say, one thing about me, I think I've done it so long, and I think one right before I close, but I think the problem was with me was like, you know, like when you're outside of watching the conscious community, and then right, you get in it, right? And then you meet all these people that you looked up to and you realize like, yo, like 90% of these people are all like they're hustlers. And I think I was kind of hurt and I took a step back, but I'm coming. You know, I'll be, you know, more active and just supporting y'all from afar, man. I love Black Lion Supreme. A few times I was with him on the Dagger Squad show. I see Sabio's growth, so I'm proud of that. Me first time conversing with you, Byron. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to meet you, and I love Patah and all y'all, man. I'm coming though. I'll be at y'all real soon.
Love you, fam. One love to you, and keep on doing what you're doing, fam.
Man,
We
appreciate
need
that,
you.
bro.
Don't ever forget that we need you, bro. We need you bad.
Yeah, man. I am because you are. You feel me? So
Facts.
that's what I live by, man. But thank y'all, man.
Yeah, bro.
No doubt. Hotel.
I second
Yep.
what Black Lion Supreme said, man. You definitely needed, and you definitely been a tremendous help and benefit to me personally, and I'm sure many other brothers.
Facts. Big
Black,
fact.
Black Lion Supreme. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on the Dagger Squad. Everyone knows that. You can also find me on Facebook. Eric Tolliver. That's my government name. You can find me there. I'll be doing a presentation sometime either next week or this the next up and coming week on how we became Christians and the implications that incurred with our within the transatlantic slave trade. So be looking forward to that. That'll be coming soon. I hope you guys be there to because I'll be showing some key points and information that I think that the community really needs to look at. So peace to everyone, and please be safe. Keep up what you're doing with the social distancing, and keep yourself with your masks on, and watch where you go and who you get in contact with. We're still in a pandemic, so don't lapse up now. Keep doing what you've been doing to stay healthy. And with that being said, Hotep, and be safe, fam.
All right, Hotep, my brother. Appreciate you. All right, family. So, we just wanted to bring some more insight on that situation with our sister. It was definitely sad for this sister to go cry out for help and end up being the person who lost her life. We believe that the officer could have used more discretion, but we also feel that, and we understand that, in a situation like that, you see somebody whose life is potentially in danger and you act. Where we wanted to mostly point out was the Black adults who stood by and watched this thing progress to a point where it got to a level where this sister felt like she had to go get a knife in order to back these people up off of her, and was so enraged that as the officer was talking to her, she wasn't trying to hear it. We all been in a state of rage where you ain't really hearing what the people who are trying to talk you down are saying. And it's just unfortunate that a young person who had their whole life ahead of them lost their life. So we just wanted to bring it to you and give you a deeper perspective on that situation, and we hope that you got edified by it. And with that said, you can find me on Facebook at dmgdapoet, Instagram dmgdapoet, right here, Paradigm Shift TV 314, and we'll be back at it again, family. And I'm gonna play my brother Seba Kimra Nasu Shaking My Eye song, Ashe, that he made specifically for this channel. Hope y'all enjoy it. And with that, we are out. That's peace.
Hotep.